start.
So,
Yeah,
exactly. So
yeah.
that's the hope with this whole thing.
Yeah, and it seems like it's like such a kind of a lifestyle and philosophy beyond just, I mean, it's like anything, like yoga, like it's like there's so much more beyond just the actual martial arts that is like incorporated, that I feel like those teachings, you know, there's so much space for those things to be incorporated more.
Such a through thread, whatever that goes through. So, all right, we'll just start it off. Hi, Allie.
Hi, Andre. It's great to see you.
Good to see you. Just to introduce this conversation a little bit, I wanted to reach out to you because I know you work with relationships in a broad way of saying that, but and I was thinking on a walk that I was taking or whatever, I saw a couple running or whatever, and they each had headphones on and were paced differently, but you could tell that there were a couple running together. And I was thinking back to my own running with a partner at some point in time and disliking the experience, because when I run, I do have my headphones on and I just kind of want to keep my own pace. And I felt like with running with somebody else, I had to be talking to them or having a conversation and not running. And then so I was thinking about that more and more watching this couple, and like, oh, they're making it work somehow. But then I started breaking it down into, well, maybe it's just a separating, what are you doing together? You're not talking together, you're running together or whatever. So that made me think of you and your relationship stuff and working with couples and how maybe you approach that from an activity level, like what kind of activities. And that's a good way for me to say, hey, how are you and what do you do?
Yeah, I think it's a great like topic, and it definitely got me thinking about kind of, how I work with people and what the kind of goal is. And I guess, I'll start by just introducing myself. I'm Allie Andrews. I'm a sex and intimacy coach, and a big part of that is like working with people to feel, happier and more secure in themselves and also in their relationships, and how to kind of make intimacy and connection the priority. When I say intimacy, I really mean like the emotional aspects of intimacy. And then, the sex piece is obviously really important as well. But today, I feel like it's got me thinking a lot about like connection, and how you said like you don't want to talk when you're running. It's like a lot of times we think in order to connect we need to be talking, but there's so much connection that can happen without talking, which is kind of like what you had observed in this couple that was running kind of together and doing this shared activity together, on their own terms, but like doing it together. So that's kind of how I'm thinking of this topic of like, okay, how does doing an activity, physical activity, whether it's out in nature or going to a, class, workout class, or just trying a new activity together, like how does that reinforce the connection that a couple feels, and like what are the things that go into feeling connected in a relationship?
I think you had said on their terms, and I think that's kind of important, because I think that example I gave with the two runners, that's their terms versus what my terms were in that experience that I'd had, which no terms were really set. But to find those different interests and meet them on those different terms. Like, have you worked with many people or your own experience? I know you are an active person. I know you spend a lot of time hiking and stuff. I've asked you for advice on trails. Like, how has that always been something that you've done with partners in your relationships, or did you bring that into it, or is that something, how's that worked for you?
Yeah, I feel like the relationships that I've had where I've had a partner who we had like shared things we like to do together, shared activities like hiking or skiing, have been like the best relationships and the healthiest relationships that I've had. And I've had some pretty unhealthy relationships, so I know the difference. But like my current partner, often we'll feel like we want to connect, and part of that connection is like connecting with oneself. And I think that's what physical activity, it like gets us out of our head, it gets us more into our body, it makes us feel more confident in ourselves, and like more, for me, it helps me, just kind of connect with that feeling of like just feeling like I'm in a good mood. I feel happy. I feel good about myself. And I think that that's such a big part of connecting with another person. Like, we first have to be connected with ourselves. So I notice that, like, when I'm feeling that, it's like, we'll plan, a hike or maybe a weekend camping trip or go skiing for the day. And I just feel like that connection is so restored, and it feels effortless. Like, it doesn't feel like it's like effort, like we have to sit down and do a big, conversation, or it just naturally happens when we're doing something we both love together. And I think it's something that I talk a lot to my, couple clients about. It's like, what makes you feel connected to your partner? And that can be different for each person, but having like passions that, having your separate passions is really important, but having your shared passions is also really important, because just like, if, like doing things together, doing activities together, I think is just something that keeps that connection alive.
I think you had said that you started out with the, find the hiking or whatever activity is that you're doing, that you find a connection to yourself. So that's the important part of it. And then finding that connection with somebody else. If they're sharing that same emotion. I was just listening to something the other day, and they were talking about something about if you're on a date, the reason, like if you go to a horror movie or whatever, you're sharing an experience in that moment, and that you're both being scared in the moment, and being that heightened whatever chemical, if you look at it from the chemical side of it all, that's what drives together. So I imagine that's the same type of thing. Like if you're in that relationship, if you're both excited to be in the woods versus one of you is excited and one of you just doesn't want to be there at all. You're not doing anything together per se. You're together, but you're not doing it together.
Right. There's like a misattunement, whereas what you're describing with like both being scared or both feeling the elation that you feel when you like get to the top of a mountain and feeling that together, there's an emotional attunement that just happens naturally because you're kind of experiencing similar feelings. Which is really powerful. It reinforces, your bond with someone.
Yeah, so that's funny. The emotional attunement thing, and I think of tuning and there's chords.
Yeah.
So if you've got two people who both enjoy it, that's one tuning, and then you've got dissonance if one person doesn't really like it. But is there anything in the middle? Like, is there a balance of types of acceptance or that goes into that?
I think so. I think it's kind of like, for me, it's like surfing. My partner loves surfing. I was really into it in the beginning, and then I realized like all that went into it, like putting my wetsuit on in the winter. It's just like so thick, it's so tight, it barely fits. It's very claustrophobic, and I just realized like that process I really don't like. But when we take tropical trips, surf trips, I like going surfing for like an hour or two total, like the whole trip. And he surfs like the whole time. And so it's one of those things, like I can find things I love about it, like being in the water, looking at the sea turtles, catching the very occasional wave, but I'm not like, I don't like love it. Like it's not like skiing for me or like something like going on a hike. It's not the same feeling. I'm not like motivated to get better at it. But I still do it, and it's still, there's things about it that I can find that I enjoy. And it's still a connection point for us. So I think there is some compromise that goes into this. Like I think there's something about compromise, something about being flexible and willing to try something new if your partner's like, hey, I did this, martial arts class or whatever, and I think it would be really cool for us to like go together. It's like, sure, try it. If you hate it, you don't have to go back. But there's something about like trying new experiences together and being flexible and being open that I think is required in a relationship. Like we can't be so rigid in like our likes and dislikes that we'd have no space for these things that can, just be opportunities to try something new and keep the novelty and adventure alive in the relationship, because it's so easy to lose that, especially in long-term connections. And so, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that makes it, that novelty point of it, if you're passionate about something, it's okay to be passionate about other things. Like as you grow older and see different things, or not even, in the same year, whatever.
Yeah,
it's not even about,
I'm still multi-passionate and constantly trying new things. I try it for a few months. I'm like, okay, on to the next. It served its purpose.
There's plenty to try. You're not going to run out of stuff. But I think what you were talking about, finding those things, it's not even a compromise. If your partner's surfing all the time and you only want to surf a little bit at a time, you can still enjoy all of the elements that are there, because especially you're not on the board together. It's not, exactly. You don't have to be. You can certainly share the same space. And still have that connection, I think.
Yeah, I can watch him take pictures, be his photographer. Which he likes. So I think that ability to be open to trying new things is really important in another aspect of this conversation. Especially if you're someone that enjoys being active and enjoys having a sense of adventure or being outdoors.
Even with the, outside of the element of joy, the emotional side of it, I think there's also kind of a learning side, that stimulation side, for just learning something new, even if you don't like it necessarily. Just your brain is acting in a way that it doesn't get a chance to. And I think to share that in a relationship, and you get to know how your partner thinks in that moment.
Absolutely. And you find each other's limits too, which I think is important. That's been something. I feel like all the activities I'm talking about sound really extreme. I'm not this extreme athlete person. That's my partner for sure is, and he's got me out of my comfort zone with backcountry skiing, and I never did it before, but I've definitely found my limits where there's been moments where I'm like, this is way too much. I don't ever want to do this again. And really found my boundaries, and he's kind of finding them too, and being like, okay, this experience would be great for Allie and I to do together, and this experience is just for me to do with my friends who are also into this. So I think that's important too, of knowing what your limits are, and knowing that it's okay to not like things that your partner likes, and to say that, and to not just go along with it because you want to do things together. It's okay to be yourself, and then to kind of find maybe an activity that feels more accessible to both of you.
Yeah, and because there are so many activities out there. Just because that doesn't match up, why not just find something else?
It could just be going on a walk together, around the block. It could be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be even have to be a run. I think there's what's happening physiologically when we're just moving our bodies is all those good, dopamine, serotonin, all those good feel-good neurotransmitters are moving and getting released, and it's mood enhancing, and it's motivating, and so when then that's happening together, right? There's a feeling of feeling those good feelings together, and you're kind of associating that with being with your partner, which I think is great.
I wonder, so I was just thinking, it's the holiday season, and I was thinking about how I feel during it. It's I really do enjoy the gift giving, and I get into it. It's a strange
it's
super
it's exciting. It's the kid in me comes out this time of year.
It's crazy. I see all the lights, Westbrook puts out their light show, and I literally get excited. I was literally excited to wake up and take my walk in the morning because it's all going to be out, and so.
I love that.
But I was wondering, as you talk about all of those endorphins and from the activity. Like as we come into like colder weather and Christmas time, we don't have, we're not outside with the sun and stuff. I wonder if that's like even more potent at this like this time of year, like maybe whereas that's a cheer comes up or whatever. But it just got me thinking in the terms of like relationships, and even if you think of, obviously it's cold and people are inside, so birth rates throughout the year, but maybe just like people's attraction levels to each other are heightened at that point because science. But
science. It's actually funny because I was reading something about that where actually dopamine and attraction, there's like a correlation between dopamine and attraction. So if those like neurotransmitters are flowing, that it can actually increase like your attraction to your partner or to another person.
So it wouldn't be, so I guess I may have thought of it the other way around. Okay. So attraction, and I don't know.
I haven't extensively researched this, but I did read something where it's like, oh, yeah, like there's a correlation there.
It's like the chicken or the egg.
Yeah, right. And then I think about it too. It's like, oh yeah, when I see someone, learning something new or trying something new or like investing in a goal, like, it definitely increases I'm like, oh yeah, like I would be more attracted to that person or to my partner when he's like really excited about like working up to this goal. And like, that increases my attraction to him for sure.
It's kind of like a sharing of energy at that point.
Yeah.
Like you like I feed off that type of thing too, and it goes both ways sometimes, unfortunately. But as far as like the negative side of it too.
Yeah.
But on the positive side, yeah, that is you do. Or I tend to get attracted as well. Like when that excitement's there, it's like go.
The passion, it's contagious.
I wonder, is that it's like that mirroring, or that mirror like idea. So is it in a relationship, like I'm looking at my partner and seeing that excitement and saying, hey, I'm doing well, or hoping to do well based on that? Like, is it a mirror or is it a role model? I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or if it's even healthier to think of it one way or the other.
Yeah, like I guess I'm having a little bit of a hard time understanding maybe what you're...
Yeah, so if I'm looking at my partner and they're really excited, they're like passionate, they're doing something, and I get excited, I'm feeding off that energy, right? So am I feeding off that energy because in the terms of like reflecting and like seeing somebody else and somebody else, am I saying I'm doing well, that's like an acknowledgement that I'm doing well, or is it something that I'm trying to be? Like, am I looking at my partner as a role model and saying I want to be that, and I'm getting excited for them because they're doing something I'm not?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's an element that's like, energetic, and like emotions can be kind of like contagious. Like sometimes it can be hard to be like, is this mine or is this someone else's? And so I feel like there is like a vibrational thing happening with the energy. Like if someone's energy is way down here and you walk into this space, like your energy is probably going to drop too. Whereas if someone's like way up here and you walk into this space, like it may have the impact of like kind of lifting you up. And so I think about it kind of like vibrational frequencies maybe in that way. But yeah, I think it can also be like a motivation. Like I think about being forced to do like ski workouts in my living room, like while drinking a glass of wine and watching TV, because Ryan's like, we gotta go, like we gotta get ready for ski season, and like we need to be able to. And I'm like, okay, sure. I guess I'll do this with you when I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have done it otherwise. So I think there can be a level of like that it's like there's an accountability piece to it. There's like it's like, okay, you're gonna drag me to do this thing that yeah, will ultimately feel better and feel good, and I do want to do, but like I just really don't feel like doing it right now, and that's really helpful. I think that's really, yeah, it can be a lot harder to get that motivation up on, at least for me, like on my own.
Right.
Or like, he's like, I'm gonna go to the gym later. It's like, okay, I'll go with you. Versus I probably wouldn't go if you weren't going.
What else are you gonna do? Type
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that you don't have your own life.
But it's like
yeah.
I might as well go.
Right.
So yeah, I think there can be a level of that.
I think there's also not only on those terms of long-term relationships and getting monotonous, so finding things to do so that you have other things to do in a relationship, but it builds memories as opposed to kind of just doing the same thing over, and you've just got, I mean, there are memories that are built in that, but
Yeah.
I feel like you get more of a click for those unique memories.
Yeah, it's so important. Yeah, because so much of life and like feeling good and feeling happy is like reflecting on positive experiences, or like looking back in the photo album and being like, oh yeah, remember when we did that thing together?
Right.
Remember when we did that hike a year ago? Or remember when we like tried that class together and it was like totally ridiculous, or whatever it is. I think it's really great to like kind of reminisce on those things, and also anticipate, things that are planned for the future. As well. It's like at least I get so much energy and like happiness from doing that.
Yeah, that anticipation, looking for, I mean, goes
Yeah.
like the Christmas thing, like you're
Yeah.
looking forward to.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's like, that's what makes Christmas great. It's not Christmas Day. It's like everything that happens before that, all the build up, all the excitement, all
Right.
the getting ready, the decorating, the thinking of what you're going to get everyone. Yeah.
Preparation.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because I hear a lot about, the process, think about the process and all that, which makes absolute sense, especially in doing a lot of things. But to that point of the Christmas thing, you're right. Like, it's the preparation. Everybody likes putting up the lights and all of that stuff. But
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this has been nice. It's I like having the feedback of somebody who like knows what they're talking about.
Well, sort of. I mean, I'm kind of thinking about it through the lens of intimacy and connection, and then there's also this whole lens of just like it's good for you, and it's when you're mentally and physically healthier, like I think it's easier to feel good in your life and good in your relationship. Of course, that's a total like blanket statement, and there's so much nuance in that, and there's so many like problems with also that perspective that don't take other things into account. But I think like we know, like, we're animals, we're supposed to move. If we're not moving our bodies, like, we don't feel good. So yeah, I think like that element of it is obvious, but yeah, it's been great to kind of think about this as like how I go into working with couples and this piece of it, this piece of the puzzle.
You just said if you're not working it out and stuff, you don't feel good. And if you don't feel good, how can you feel good in your relationship?
Yeah,
I can tag. I'm just going to put a pin.
Exactly. It's like, how can you? I mean, we all go through like probably more depressive times where we like struggle to get out of bed and don't want to go exercise and don't want to move our bodies, and like that's why it's great to have like that accountability person. I mean, it's annoying being like told you should do something that you really don't want to do, so like definitely don't do that to your partner, but finding things that are fun and feel good for both of you, and
absolutely,
just not being afraid to kind of try new things. And if there's something, like anyone listening, if there's something that you have been wanting to do, like take a dance class, or again, like come to a class here, and you're like, oh yeah, you're not sure if your partner would be into it, just ask them. Just put it out there.
Yeah.
I know it can be scary, but
getting over that, just asking. Once it's out there, it's out there.
Yeah.
So it's not that bad if you just ask. And then that opens up the door for them to offer things as well.
Yeah,
I think,
exactly.
so, which is nice. Yeah, I'm actually gonna probably, especially now that Valentine's Day is around the corner,
It is.
and then we've got the Christmas holiday stuff. I'm probably gonna put together like a couples class, they have parents' night out for like kids martial arts schools around here, so the kids get dropped off and the parents go out on a date, so maybe they can just come here on this.
Yeah.
So I gotta start stalking the schools in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Planning it out.
Yeah, I think finding things, it's so hard in Maine, like in the winter, for people that don't like the cold and don't like to be outside in the winter, which is a lot of people. It's really hard to find those activities. So creating, I think it's a great idea to create more opportunities that are easy for for couples to do together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you want to plug your business at all, or?
Yeah, I mean, I love supporting couples. I love working with couples. Couples who are, maybe just like struggling to connect emotionally, have been together for a long time and are just, like that spark is kind of gone, like finding ways to reconnect and learning new tools to deepen their intimacy and deepen their bond and have better sex and all the things that are really important for us and our well-being and our relationships and just quality of life. So if anyone is resonating with that and looking for support, my website is a great way to find me. It's Allie, ALLIE-Andrews.com. And I'm also on Instagram if you want to connect that way. So, maybe we can just like link it up. And
See, a black space will fill it in.
Yeah. So, I would love to connect. And I have some resources free resources on my website for individuals and couples who are, just looking for support in the realms of their relationship and intimacy. So, definitely check those out.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. How long is that? 27 minutes.